Hello. I have not planned at all what I'm going to do other than talk about my 5 favorite books that I've read this year. I haven't read very many books this year, so let's see where this goes. My number 5 and 4 spot are actually tied. I can't decide which I like more. So, number 5 initially was Project Hail Mary, which, man, I love this book. It was so good. It was so funny. It it was great. I loved it. Rocky, fantastic character. I've never seen Memory Loss done this well. Extremely inspiring. I This book's great. But number 4, which also is science fiction, even though I don't read science fiction, is not Doors of Eden. But I don't currently have Children of Time. It's at my parents' house, and I listen to the audiobook. But Children of Time by the same author. Oh my goodness. A sci-fi concept done perfectly. Brief explanation. What if evolution picked spiders instead of people? And then those spiders and people had to deal with each other. If you have arachnophobia, read this book because it will torture you, and that's great. But both of these books are fantastic, and I honestly can't decide which is better. This one is... No, they're just both equally amazing. This one's definitely funnier and more enjoyable, but this one is better hard sci-fi. This is almost more fantasy in some ways. Both of these are not in the realm of possibility. Like, Andy Weir also wrote The Martian, which is another one of my favorite sci-fi books. That one could actually happen, kind of, but these books are both kind of just crazy, and I love them. Number 3 and 2 are also tied for me, which is... I read not a lot of books, like I said, but the ones I did were pretty much all amazing. So I'm going to say my number 3 spot, although, again, basically tied with number 2, Tress of the Emerald Sea. I actually have this copy and the everybody else copy, but I read the ebook, so I didn't even read this one, but I got it. This is part of Sanderson's 4 secret novels of 2023. I read the other ones. I think there should be one over there in frame, and all 4 of them weren't great. One of them sucked, but 3 of them were great, and this was my favorite of the 3. This is the one that came out on January 1st, and I believe I read it in the first week of January. It was fantastic. This one also has some beautiful illustrations, but it was such a good read. It was like a beautiful fairy tale come to life, and it was so sweet, and it was basically The Princess Bride, but if the Princess Bride went out to seek Wesley instead of, her for assuming he was dead and marrying someone else, but we'll ignore that. Fantastic book. I loved it. And somehow, the first fantasy book out of these 5, because number 2, which is again tied with 3, is not fantasy. It's Stephen King's Rita Hayworth and the Shawshank Redemption. Pretty much everyone and their mum has seen the Shawshank Redemption, and it's a phenomenal movie. And the book is like, technically this is just a novella, and it's part of a bigger book that has 4 novellas. I haven't read that one. I just read the Shawshank Redemption. And this is better than the movie. It is so good. And even if you've watched the movie and you're like, I know the twist, I know what happens, why would I read it? It's somehow portrayed differently, and I think knowing the twist enhances the read. And it was so good, and I'm so glad I got it. And I actually picked this up from Superstore on like a 2-for-1 deal, which, buying books at Superstore is pretty common, right? But the other book I picked up turned out to be my number 1 reading. Well, you see, I read a little bit of fantasy, a little bit of manga, just fun stuff. So, of course, my number 1 read is Beartown, a book that made me ugly cry and weep and feel in pain and question everything. This book was so good, and it doesn't have a single fantasy or magical realism element. This is just set in a small town in Sweden, and it is so good. How you write book this good? Literally, the first chapter is 2 sentences. I'm not going to read it, but the first chapter is 2 sentences. And I don't think I was, at that moment, I was completely hooked, and I wasn't able to stop reading, and it was so good. Buy this book. give it to everyone who likes hockey. I hate hockey. I don't know if I think I hate hockey more because of this book. But also, give this book to anyone who likes hockey. Give this book to anyone who is a kid. Give this book to anyone who has a reading comprehension level of above grade 4. It is so brilliantly written, so emotional, and so good. I'm going to read everything this guy has written. In fact, I've already bought 2 of his other books, and I'm in the middle of both of them because I am that person who reads multiple books at the same time. I'm in the middle of 4 books and in the middle of 2 or 3 audiobooks. I have issues. Anyway, I read more books this year, and they were all really good, but those were my 5 favorites.
This is the part of the show where Emily comes out and she goes over the book she reads. Highly recommend this cookbook. This is my paid promotion. Illustrated recipes. Very good. I read 1 book this year because it's a pretty cover.
I'm gonna think you've just
pretty
started
good.
into light novels now and nothing else.
What are light novels? Merry Christmas.
Thanks for watching.
Move back a little and then you can see it. Right there. Crisp HD. I'll keep this in.